The rise of the new rich, it is not just the 1%. A new survey from the Associated Press reports that 1 in 5 Americans, a full 20%, can now expect to be rich at one point in their lives. But for how long? It's today's Money Talker. Our panel is raring to go. We have Mark Hanna, Monica Crowley, and Charles Payne. This really struck a chord with me when I read this because I feel like I know all these people. I mean, it's people who at some point in their life or some year earned more than $250,000, which put them in the top 2%. They may have dipped slightly below that, so they don't count as wealthy over time, but they've worked themselves to this position where they're sending their kids to private schools, they have nice cars, they're buying nice clothes, they live in a gated community, and they really want to hold on to this lifestyle, but they're kind of barely doing it. What are the implications of that? Who wants to go first? Charles, what do you think?
Well, here the thing I find, and you say you feel like you know them, so do I, because I spend time in the green room here. And I've met so many successful people, and invariably almost every single one self-made. And when you're self-made, when you get to that point, first of all, getting there is one thing. Staying there is another.
Yeah.
So it's not like, okay, I'm rich today and the game over. It's credits roll and we live happily ever after. Maintaining it, to your point, is tough, and you're in that sweet spot. So you've got a little bit of cash, but not as much as some of the other people that you've been meeting on the way up. Yeah. And they're buying things that you still can't have. Their kids are getting things that your kids still can't have. Nobody wants to hear you complaining about it, but you certainly start to feel, if I'm being demonized for having done what I was supposed to do to climb this ladder of success, that does change you in a lot of ways.
Yeah. I mean, America was built as an aspirational society, right? We're built as a country that was guaranteeing an equality of opportunity, but not an equality of outcomes. Generally speaking, in the past, it's always been kind of a linear upward mobility. So once you hit that $200,000 a year, then it's $250,000, then it's $300,000, as long as you're working hard and keeping it going. Now that's not the case. And as you said, Melissa, people tend to slide back. I don't know about you guys, but it's happened to me where one year I've hit a pretty good mark in terms of income and the next year not so much for whatever reason. And I think there's a lot of uncertainty that has a tremendous, not just economic impact, but psychological.
You're dying to get in here, Mark. Come on.
Yeah, no, I think what's interesting here is how precarious the economy is for both people at the top.
Right.
The 20%.
I mean, that's the point, is it feels unstable to everybody.
And also precarious for people at the bottom. There was a recent survey out, 80% of Americans between the ages of 25 and 60 will feel at some point some significant economic insecurity. Now, people at the top are used to this kind of risk because entrepreneurialism, capitalism is all about taking risks. So they make it big one year and make 300 grand one year and then 200 grand the next year. People in my family, people I know, they're kind of used to this and are able to absorb it. I think we need to be concerned absolutely that it's precarious if people are making a lot of money, make a little less the next year, but we should absolutely be concerned about the people at the bottom 80%.
For sure, but I think
who experience economic insecurity down below.
Without question, but I think what it shows is that everyone's feeling insecure about hanging on to what they have. Yeah. And one thing they found in this study was that this group of people in particular were liberal when it comes to social policies, when it comes to gay marriage or it comes to abortion. They were very conservative when it came to fiscal policy. In other words, they were sort of one-issue voters saying, don't tax me, don't take away any more of my money. And they went on to interview people who said, I started on food stamps and I've pulled my way up. I don't really like having to then give to people who, to me, look like they aren't trying as hard as I did.
Because the bottom line right now, tax policy is punitive. It's punishment. It's some sort of retribution to make up for the wrongs of yesteryear, the mean, evil-spirited America.
That's one way
and the idea, listen, aren't we always told that the same 1% that were wealthy in 1979 are the same 1% that are wealthy now, but they've gobbled up a greater share of the wealth as if we don't have mobility up and down? But that's the way the narrative is put out there.
But we've seen a lot more economic mobility downward, and that's concerning to a lot of people. We've seen a lot of stasis within classes. We've seen a lot of, rich people. I mean, when you have 20% of the people, if you have 20% of the people being rich in the top 2% of the bracket, sometimes what that means to me is that rich are in fact getting richer, and I don't think that's a bad thing.
If everybody's insecure and everybody's losing their money, it makes me feel like the government's just taking money from everybody.
It's like an opportunity from everybody.
Look, what you've seen over the last 5 years is an exacerbation of the income inequality gap under President Obama, who's engaged in massive wealth distribution policies.
Under many administrations.
Wait a minute. If you really want upward mobility, if you really want less uncertainty in the economy, and again, nothing is perfect, right? We see free markets and they they ebb and flow. But what you need to do is have a limited government that gets out of the way and allows economic freedom. That's not what we have had in the last 5 years.
And I agree with Monica completely. I think the reason you need a strong middle class, this economic inequality is, as the president said, the main challenge of our generation. And the reason it's so bad is when you have so many rich people and so many poor people and nobody in the middle class, from a political standpoint, which was your point earlier.
But how do you rectify that? How do you rectify that? If we agree that's a problem, I mean, it feels like the president wants to rectify that by taking from the rich and giving to the poor.
And I think what what Democrats like me will say, Republican administrations have taken from the poor, taking food stamps away from poor people in order to give corporate welfare.
What is the solution now that's not penalizing the rich and giving it to the poor?
It's to maintain a very strong middle class, because people in the middle class can identify with both rich people because they aspire to be rich, and they can identify with poor people because they maybe have been poor at one point in their lives.
The solution, though, to address the underclass and the working poor and the middle class is growth policies.
Yes.
You have not seen that under this administration, the exact opposite. You need cut marginal tax rates. You need to cut the corporate tax rate. You need to cut the capital gains taxes. You need to liberate people.
Yeah, I'm just listening. Listen, the president, if you listen to President Obama, he says that our goal is to have a broad middle class. That's not what the goal is. Before, people's goal is either I'm going to hit it big or my kids are going to hit it big, and tell me what I've got to do to either get there myself or create a stepping stone for my kids or maybe even their kids to get there.
Is that what we want?
I think it's a wonderful thing. I love it.
We want people in the middle class to have that opportunity to get rich, but when they don't, when they fall behind, when the economy takes a hit,
here's the problem. Everywhere where Democrats are in control, you've got the widest income inequality. Take a state like California, which is only super rich and super poor. They're the exact thing that you're saying. But the fact of the matter is, though, it's the tax system. It's the elitism. You got people in San Francisco who can't even pay their rent anymore because the Silicon Valley billionaires are pushing them out. There's hardly any middle class there.
I've heard a lot of people complain about class warfare, and President Obama is waging class warfare. Class warfare is slowly rearing its ugly head because of this economic inequality. The president's not fanning the flames of it. He's confronting a reality.
He's throwing hand grenades.
I love you, but he's been the general.
He's been describing the problem. He's describing the problem, not trying to exacerbate it.
We got to go, and Mark, my hat is off to you. Well done, my friend. Yes, you said you're kind of getting attacked. You know, it's not a fair fight, but you did well. Thank you.
I was going to ask him about my new watch if he liked it, but that's okay.
I do. For the record, I do. Let everybody at home know. Charles's new watch.
Next up.